I'm terribly sorry. It seems my subordinate has neglected their preparations. Hey, hurry up and proceed in French. You can handle basic French. Right. Get to it, please. The day of the business deal worth $12 million. My colleague, Mia, and I were convinced that we had been set up by our boss, Tyler. Who exactly is he? I have no clue. I can't understand why people from the head office is greeting us so politely. To get back at Director Tyler, I decided to take a certain action. My name is Shane. I'm a 32-year-old bachelor. I'm not married and lead a fulfilling life, busy with work every day. I learned the basics of my job at a small branch in the suburbs after joining the company as a new graduate. I received various guidance from my superiors, took it seriously, reflected on it, and applied it to my next tasks. Thanks to being dedicated to my work, I was assigned to the head office last year. Working at the head office, there's a lot to learn, and my colleagues' work ethic is significantly higher. At first, I could barely keep up, but gradually I found my pace. As I got used to it, results naturally followed, leading to more responsibilities. Recently, one of my tasks involved traveling to a regional branch. I was assigned to a small department in the branch. It's rare for our company to send someone on a business trip. My trip became the talk of the head office immediately after it was decided. Are you okay? I believe you'll come back to us. Kevin, who I looked up to at the head office, started treating me like I was fragile. Remember, if anything happens, tell us right away. Good luck. For some reason, my peers encouraged me, leaving me perplexed but grateful. Everyone must be genuinely worried about me. With encouragement from my colleagues at the head office, I set out for the regional branch. Initially, I was reluctant, but accepting it as part of my job made it easier to bear. About a month after the trip was decided, I arrived at the branch after a few hours on the airplane and immediately approached someone nearby. She was a beautiful woman with semi-long hair, about my age. I'm Shane, and I'll be working with you starting today. She greeted me with a kind smile, even though we had just met. You're from the head office, right? I'm Mia from the same department. Nice to meet you. Let's head to the branch manager's office. It's this way. As we introduced ourselves, we headed towards the branch manager's office. Discovering we were the same age helped us quickly bridge the gap. I felt relieved to have made an acquaintance in an unfamiliar place. It's great you could come. We were short-staffed. It's only for a short while, but I'm looking forward to working with you. Yes, I'll do my best to be of help as soon as possible. What are you talking about? Everyone's expecting a lot since you've been working at the head office. Mia said with a bright smile. Feeling the pressure from her words, I psyched myself up and opened the door to the branch manager's office. Good to have you here. We have a proposal from the head office. They must have their reasons for choosing you. Show us what you've got. Yes, thank you. I'll do my best. Branch manager Ethan, with his white flecked hair and wrinkles at the corners of his eyes, was a calm man. Ethan's words filled me with determination. After receiving encouragement from Ethan, I began to look forward to the business trip. A few months into my job at the branch, I had gotten used to my work. However, I recently faced a concern. Contrary to my enthusiasm, Mia seemed somewhat dispirited. The atmosphere in the department was gloomy and oppressive. Are you tired, Mia? Are you getting enough rest? When I asked, she gave me a slightly troubled smile. If I'm getting worried over by Shane, I guess I still have a long way to go. I should be the senior here, so I need to act like it. Mia, you're doing enough already, but you look pale. Are you okay? I've been a bit busy and short on sleep lately. Sorry for making you worry. Could it be because of Tyler? At the mention of his name, Mia flinched. It seems there's something to it. Tyler is our department's director. Although he's a few years younger than us, He apparently has relatives among the executives at the head office, and he's gaining experience as an executive at the branch. And the poor atmosphere in the department is also related to Tyler. He always looks down on his subordinates, making unreasonable demands and instructions. Anyone who dares to oppose him is thoroughly cornered, leading some to resign. I remember his authoritarian attitude even towards me, a newcomer. Hey, don't get cocky just because you're from the head office. I'm the one in charge here. My word is law, got it? Yes, I understand. Since then, I've tried to avoid him as much as possible, but it seems Mia, being his direct subordinate, doesn't have that luxury. You mentioned being sleep deprived. Is it because of work? Mia always told me to leave on time, so I assumed she did the same. Well, it's a busy period. With a big deal coming up, it's crunch time. Looking closely at Mia's face, I could see faint dark circles in her eyes. How did I not notice this before? I felt guilty for my lack of attentiveness. Isn't this an issue with Tyler? Without proper rest, it could lead to serious problems. Yeah, but it's also true I'm not doing well enough at work. Thanks for your concern, though. Seeing Mia's forced smile, my heart ached. But here, a newcomer like me is just another face in the crowd. Feeling powerless, I could only bite my lip in frustration. Noticing my mood, Mia clapped her hands to change the subject. By the way, Shane, do you know, the vice president at the head office, who's now at an overseas branch, was the top of his class at Harvard University. Isn't that inspiring? Yeah, it is. And he's from our generation. Isn't that amazing? That's why I want to work hard like him and be useful to the company. I was moved by Mia's words. I had never seen anyone so dedicated to their work. That's why I felt a strong desire to protect that sincerity. I understand how you feel, but make sure not to overdo it. Yeah, I know, thanks. With that, Mia left with a polite smile, leaving me to ponder. Mia, always smiling and brightening up the department. I never imagined that Mia was shouldering the workload all by herself. Although I felt something was off, she returned to her usual self the next day. Was I just overthinking it? Still, I couldn't help but worry about her, someone who had always been there for me. Even seeing her acting as usual, my concern lingered. Carrying those mixed feelings, several days went by. Then, one day, as I was returning from an outside visit, I heard a familiar voice coming from one of the meeting rooms. If we take on so much work, we may see more resignations. Please reconsider. Are you trying to take it easy? If you have time to complain, get to work. The useless ones always whine the most. I didn't mean that. I was just thinking of the company's best interest. Peeking in, I saw Mia and Tyler arguing. Unaware that both of them hadn't noticed me watching, Tyler stood with his arms crossed, looking all high and mighty. For the company. Huh, are you kidding me? Do you really think it's okay to defy me? You're just a regular employee, and I'm the manager. But Tyler, you're always just making us do all the work. It doesn't even look like you do anything else. Aren't you just trying to take it easy? What? Do you even realize what you're doing? You must really want to quit. At Mia's words, Tyler's face turned beet red. Anger clearly showing, Tyler began to raise his voice. Do you even know who I am? I'm the head of this department. If I wanted to, I could report you to the higher-ups and get you fired just like that. But this is too much, not just for me, but for everyone. Mia's desperate cry moved me to action. Enough of this, please. Tyler and Mia were both taken aback by my sudden appearance. Ignoring their surprise, I stepped in between them, shielding Mia from Tyler. I've heard enough. With all due respect, don't you think you're going too far? I thought you were quiet, but what's this? Do you like this girl or something? Perfect match for the bottom of the barrel. Though slightly taken aback, Tyler did not back down from his aggressive stance, and the corner of Tyler's mouth twisted into a sneer. "Everyone's been saying it. What did you mess up to get sent here on a business trip? Don't cause us any trouble, okay? Excuse me. Such a gross misunderstanding." My voice was filled with anger as Tyler looked down on me and sneered. But Tyler remained unfazed. "Playing the hero, are you? What can you possibly do? You've defied me, so she's fired." "Please, wait." Hearing Mia's desperate voice, I quickly made a proposition to Tyler. "I'll take on your work as well. Can we pretend this never happened?" My proposal left both of them as surprised as before. Tyler was the first to speak. "Interesting proposition. Fine. From now on, your job is to handle my work. Make sure you do it well." "Understood. In return, please don't fire her and promise not to mistreat the other employees." "All right, I promise. This should keep me entertained and not bored." With that, Tyler left, looking pleased with himself. Left behind, Mia apologized to me. "Shane, I'm sorry. As your senior, I should be the one protecting you, but instead, don't worry about it. Mia, you did nothing wrong. It's quite remarkable to stand up to someone higher up all by yourself." Mia continued to express concern for me, but I reassured her, and we both left the meeting room. After parting with Mia, I went to see Ethan. "Ethan, about Tyler. I'm sorry. It seems you've been troubled as well." I explained the situation since my arrival. Then, Ethan let out a big sigh and explained the situation to me. It seems that Ethan was already aware of Tyler's problematic behavior. As the son of a senior executive, Ethan couldn't just disregard him. This is indeed a serious issue for the company. "Leave it to me for now." Though Ethan looked puzzled, I left the office of the branch manager. True to his word, from the next day on, Tyler visited me multiple times a day, hurling insults and complaining. There was still no sign of him actually doing any work. I was concerned about not being able to reduce the burden on the other employees, but I figured it was at least a good thing he wasn't harassing them. However, that relief was short-lived, and I soon regretted my naivety. "Tyler, the report is ready, so I leave it here for you." When I brought the documents to Tyler, he glared at me fiercely. "Ha, how long do you take to do such a simple task? You really are slow." In front of other employees, Tyler scolded me for a long time. Day after day of Tyler's insults inevitably darkened my mood. Enduring such days, one day, Mia came to me. "I've been selected as a project member and entrusted with a major business negotiation." Mia's face was beaming. At the same time, Tyler called out to me. "Mia will be in charge of the negotiation, and you'll support her." "Yes, understood," I replied energetically, enveloped in the joy of being able to work with Mia. It seems Mia had nominated me for the support role. Surprisingly, Tyler seemed positive about the negotiation. "This is a major negotiation critical to our company. Do your best." "Understood, thank you," I replied, puzzled by Tyler's encouragement. Learning I was involved in the negotiation, Tyler suddenly became quiet. Was the negotiation that important? Given Tyler's nature, he could have dumped more work on me to hinder the project. Contrary to my expectations, Tyler offered to reduce my workload so I could focus on the project. Doubting Tyler's actions, I decided to concentrate on the upcoming negotiation. I would soon realize my optimism was misplaced. That day, I was looking for Mia to discuss work. I decided to take a detour to the conference room where Mia was. But just before reaching the room, I witnessed something unbelievable. Tyler was harassing Mia just like that day. "Tyler, at this rate, everyone will collapse. Shut up. Don't talk back. It's none of your business what I do." Seeing Tyler's unchanged attitude, I was boiling with anger. Had I been wasting my time on someone who disrespects others and doesn't keep promises? My patience, built up over time, reached its limit. I moved between them, struggling to contain my trembling fists. Hadn't we agreed otherwise? Hut, you're here too. If you can't do your job, I have to pass it on to others, and yet, this woman keeps nitpicking. I was foolish to think someone like him would keep his word. I wanted to hit myself for naively believing that others were safe because I was the target. The moment I reduced my workload, this happened. The root of the problem hadn't changed. Please, enough. Can't you try to do some work? Ha! Who do you think you are? Talking all high and mighty. If you don't like it, surpass me first. But a bottom dweller like you couldn't possibly do that, right? Why don't you losers comfort each other? After berating us, Tyler left with a smug look. Tearful Mia apologized to me, just like before. Shane, I'm really sorry for making you feel bad. Actually, were things not changed? Yes, they were. Thanks to you, things had improved a lot, but because I asked you for help, Tyler started picking on other employees again, and one of my colleagues is even considering quitting. To think that it had led to resignations. My anger amplified, realizing the situation was worse than I imagined. Then, the pressure on our peers increased, and today, when my colleague pushed back after being overloaded with work, it led to that scene. So that's what happened. I'm sorry I didn't notice. Shane, you're not to blame. Mia forced a smile, obviously feigned. The dark circles in her eyes were pronounced, and her hair, usually tied up, was in disarray, perhaps from lack of care. It's all right. I'll make him pay for this. Mia, I'll need your help. And so, alongside the preparations for the negotiation, I began another kind of preparation. The following week, the day of the negotiation finally arrived. Along with Mia, my fellow in charge, I headed to the conference room. Shane, thank you for your help. No, it's all thanks to your hard work, Mia. Let's do our best in the negotiation. And we made our way to the conference room where the negotiation was to take place. However, upon confirming the counterparts, we were astounded. More than half of them were foreigners. Naturally, they were all speaking in French. At that point, it was unclear whether French would be the language of communication. The advance materials did not indicate that the counterparts would be foreigners. But Ethan and the other employees did not seem flustered at all. Meaning, all employees except us were aware of this. The counterparts were from a major foreign company, including many foreigners. The project team included Mia, me, Ethan, Tyler, and a few from the headquarters. Kevin, whom we often relied on at headquarters, was also present. If everything went as usual, the meeting would conclude as per the minutes, and the negotiation was almost a done deal. We had spared no effort in preparation, working tirelessly to ensure everything was in order and not to offend the counterparts. Remembering this, I instinctively looked at Tyler. Sure enough, Tyler was smirking with a sneer. The materials, as he had said, were prepared by Tyler, Mia's direct supervisor. He had set us up. When I tried to proceed with the meeting as per the agenda, we were immediately stopped. The counterparts also seemed perplexed. It seemed we were the only ones not understanding the situation. Then, Tyler, who had been silent, opened his mouth with a smirk. Wasn't it clearly stated in advance that today's meeting would be in French? Don't tell me you're unprepared. Hut French. Seeing Tyler urging us to respond, we were convinced we had been set up. All eyes were harshly on Mia. No, Mia, sitting next to me, was sweating and on the verge of tears. Tyler, looking amused, began to berate her. I apologize. It seems my subordinate in charge has neglected her preparations. Hey, proceed in French. You can handle middle school level French, can't you? Hurry up and get it done. Of course, we hadn't been informed of any need to prepare for a French-speaking meeting. Tyler knew everything from the beginning and had dumped his work on us, intending to make us take the fall. I was determined not to let things go his way. Seeing Tyler trample on our efforts and gloat filled me with boiling anger. Then, I lifted my head. Taking a deep breath, I started my presentation in fluent French. The foreign counterparts seemed to understand, listening intently and at ease. Beside me, everyone, including Tyler, was visibly shocked. Without minding them, I focused on the presentation at hand. Since I had memorized the content of the negotiation, I could speak smoothly without prior translation. It seems there's concern about this figure. Can we make adjustments? Yes, it would involve an alternative, but it seems manageable. Understood. I'll try to negotiate the price a bit more. As we were nearing the end, I addressed Tyler in French. Tyler stumbled over his words, unable to understand French, and I spoke to him in a cool tone. Did you not understand? I thought I used simple French that even a middle schooler could understand. Tyler's face turned bright red as I said this. We could hear sniggers at Tyler's expense from around us. After seeing Tyler fall silent and lower his head, turning back to our counterparts, I continued the negotiation. Successfully, we concluded the negotiation. It's all thanks to you, Shane. I was worried, but it appears that you're doing well here too, which is reassuring. It's been a while. Not at all. It was all thanks to Mia's good preparation. Seeing me talking amicably with the headquarters staff, Mia, Tyler, and the rest of the branch office were visibly surprised. Then I heard Ethan and Mia talking. Who exactly is he? I don't know. I have no idea why someone from headquarters is greeting him so respectfully. Seeing their confusion, I approached them. It was thanks to you that we could secure the contract. That's not true. I just did my job, and I've caused you so much trouble, Shane. Mia's polite tone was unexpected, probably because of the many people from headquarters around us. I continued the conversation without concern. No, it was all thanks to Mia. People from headquarters were praising you too. So, Shane, what's your relationship with the people from headquarters? While I was talking with Mia and heading to our department, there was Tyler, standing as if waiting. It seemed he had been waiting for me. What do you think you're doing? Interrupting the negotiation like that? What would you have done if something had happened? The negotiation was a success, so there's no problem, right? It seems your plans have failed, Tyler. I said this and continued walking without paying him any mind. Wait a minute, Vice President Thompson. There's a message from President Thompson. A person in a suit from headquarters approached me and called out. Seeing this, Tyler's mouth fell open in confusion. Mia was just as surprised. Shane, Vice President, Mia asked hesitantly. Right, I haven't told you yet. Actually, I'm the Vice President of the group company that oversees this one. So you're the one who graduated top of your class from Harvard University. Ha! Both of them exclaimed in unison. But their tones were complete opposites. Mia's voice was bright and somewhat admiring, while Tyler's was like a shriek. Ethan, for his part, was so shocked he couldn't even speak. Yes, I'm President Thompson's son and graduated top of my class from Harvard University. I've been on an overseas assignment until recently and have just taken up the role of Vice President of the group company. Tyler's face turned ashen. He then blatantly changed his attitude and began to cling to me. I had no idea you were the Vice President from headquarters. I apologize for treating you like any other employee. It explains why you were so humble yet commanded such presence. I never imagined someone of your stature would be sent on assignment to a branch office. That was at President Thompson's request. This branch has an exceptionally high turnover rate, and its sales performance is not satisfactory. He wanted me to gain experience overseeing the company as a whole, and look what I found. I never imagined our company had such problems. Problems? I'll address them immediately. What do you see as the issue? As a manager, I'll take your feedback seriously and review our on-site operations. Tyler, seemingly trying to imply he wasn't at fault, was met with my piercing gaze. He stiffened as I coldly stated, "You're the problem." Did you really think there was no problem? Your attitude towards subordinates, the work environment, everything is problematic. Using your power to dominate your subordinates, anyone with a bit of sense would know that's something you shouldn't do. Tyler, who usually only blames others, seemed unable to tolerate his current situation. Suddenly raising his voice, he changed his attitude dramatically. "Oh, acting all high and mighty. Who do you think you are, getting all submissive with me? This is absurd. Besides, there's no way a vice president would come to such a rural place on business. Are you some failure from the headquarters, putting on a poor act?" His words rendered me, Mia, and even Ethan speechless. I confronted Tyler with reality. "It doesn't matter what you think of me. The fact that I'm the vice president is true. Calling me a failure or bottom dweller. It seems you like to label people, but that's because I've allowed you to think that way. So, it's really true. Only those at the headquarters knew about my position. Thankfully, it spared me from unnecessary formalities. Now, it seems we can also eliminate a significant problem." "A problem?" "Yes, your behavior has already been reported to the HR department at the headquarters. With Mia and other employees' help, we've gathered detailed information on the damages. Some sort of disciplinary action will be taken soon." At my words, Tyler collapsed to his knees. "Please, wait. You broke the promise. I can't overlook this any longer." With that, I left the scene quickly. Later, an official decree came from the headquarters to dismiss Tyler. It turned out that the reason Tyler had remained at the branch office was due to his problematic behavior, which had made it untenable for him to stay at the headquarters. Of course, Tyler's relatives at the headquarters also quickly lost patience and withdrew their support. As a result, Tyler was disowned by his family and, with nowhere to go, was seen job hunting. However, having looked down on others for so long, Tyler likely found it impossible to work under someone else. It seemed he couldn't bear the thought of working under someone else anymore. Even if he managed to secure a final job, he would quickly cause trouble and get fired. And now he had been spotted working part-time at a convenience store near the branch office. On the other hand, Mia continued to work energetically. Employees who had resigned upon hearing of Tyler's departure decided to return. Thus, my months-long business trip was drawing to a close. "You'll be heading back to headquarters soon, right?" Mia looked sad. Despite telling her numerous times that it's okay to speak casually as before, she stubbornly insisted on using formal language. While I would have preferred a more relaxed way of speaking, her insistence on maintaining this boundary was typical of her character. "Yes, I suppose so. Now that the problem is resolved, I'll likely be returning." "I see." Seeing her looking down, I made up my mind and took a deep breath. "I'll be waiting for you at headquarters." As I said this, Mia looked up. Then, gazing straight at me, she quietly spoke. "Of course, please wait for me." I was drawn to her earnestness and straightforwardness. The thought of parting was sad. The day we would work together at the headquarters might not be so far away. I've never been the type to make enemies. I always thought that about myself. But considering the current situation, it seems that just by breathing, one can somehow make enemies. This crossed my mind when I received the official notice from the director, Steve. "My name is James. I'm a 36-year-old mid-level employee at a construction company. I got a job at a well-known local construction firm right after high school. My parents were thrilled when I landed the job, as it was a reputable company in our area. I chose not to go to college simply because I wanted to start earning money as soon as possible. I have 4 younger brothers. It was only natural for me as the eldest to want to help support my parents financially. I was never particularly fond of studying and had no real interest in pursuing a college degree. My first year on the job was like a crash course in life, so busy I can hardly remember it. Though the workplace was demanding, I found it fulfilling. I was the only high school graduate to join the company that year. I could feel the gap I had to bridge from the very first day of work. Luckily, I was surrounded by supportive colleagues. No one looked down on me for being a high school graduate back then. When I first joined the company, there wasn't anyone like that. By the time I was 28, I had grown to be known as one of the most promising of my peers. One day, Mr. Smith, a client, suggested I consider a matchmaking. Mr. Smith, a close friend of our CEO Mr. Anderson, and a client, always had a soft spot for me, having joined the company straight out of high school. I learned everything from how to drink to high-end dining etiquette from Mr. Smith. I often visited Mr. Smith's home with Mr. Anderson. I couldn't possibly refuse the matchmaking proposal from Mr. Smith, especially since the other party was Mr. Smith's daughter. While the term CEO's daughter might conjure an image of a demure and delicate lady, Charlotte was anything but the stereotypical executive's daughter. She graduated from an industrial high school with a major in architecture and studied urban design engineering in college. I've seen her at construction sites, asking the workers various questions. Unconcerned about messing up her hair, she'd wear a safety helmet and observe passionately. I first met her at a construction site. She was visiting the site I was assisting as a site supervisor. I believe it was when she was still in high school, dressed in her uniform, wearing a white helmet. She greeted me politely. I heard that her well-composed features resemble her mother's. Her name is Charlotte. When she found out I was the assistant site supervisor, her large eyes widened even more in surprise. As we bumped into each other at various sites, we started to share personal stories. Having 4 younger brothers, Charlotte's presence felt like having a sister, and I was glad she came to rely on me for many things. To me, she was always Mr. Smith's precious daughter and like a sister. We both knew there was mutual affection. But crossing that line seemed like a difficult choice for both of us. The matchmaking proposal came up in Charlotte's graduating year from college. Yes, I would like to proceed with the matchmaking. I responded immediately to Mr. Smith's proposal. I remember being genuinely happy that the time had come when we no longer had to hide our feelings for each other. But this is where life gets tricky. The news of my matchmaking with Mr. Smith's daughter spread quickly within the company. While all my peers congratulated me, there were some who didn't take it well. I was a bit carried away and completely forgot about them. And that's when I was plunged into hell. I'll never forget it. It was the day before the arranged marriage meeting. When Al from my department told me to go to the director's office, I had a bad feeling. Steve, the son of Mr. Anderson, has never gotten along with me. Probably because Mr. Anderson and Mr. Smith treated me like a son, which Steve didn't like. Mr. Anderson once said, "Steve has always been rebellious, but his attitude in the company is also bad. He's created his own faction within the company, and lately, he's been opposing everything Mr. Anderson does." Unfortunately, many in the company have been won over by Steve, and those of us loyal to Mr. Anderson fear to take over might be happening. After a brief knock, I called out and received a brusque comment in response. Inside the director's office, Steve and some executives were lined up. "I'm sorry to say this right before your meeting with Charlotte from the Smith family, But could you go to branch 13? Steve said with a spiteful smile. I was so taken aback I could only utter a dumbfounded huh. Branch 13 is a remote southern island, far from headquarters. This wasn't just a transfer, it was a demotion. Steve watched my reaction with amusement, while his cronies snickered and laughed behind me. I realized then that this was a done deal. Mr. Anderson has been hospitalized due to illness since last month. This transfer must have been forcefully arranged by Steve. I clenched my fists, determined to stay calm. I refused to show any sign of distress. I accepted the official notice as if it were nothing and left the director's office. Inside, I was seething with anger. Thus, on the eve of my long-anticipated meeting with Charlotte, I faced this unfortunate demotion. One should never make someone hold a grudge against you. On the day of the arranged meeting, leaving Charlotte in tears was the lowest I've ever felt. I haven't been in touch with Mr. Smith since then. It's been 8 years since I was transferred to this remote island branch. There's been no sign of returning to headquarters, especially since Mr. Anderson passed away 3 years ago. Now, Steve, the one who banished me here, is the CEO. It seems my peers who were loyal to Mr. Anderson were suddenly fired. They probably thought I couldn't do anything from this island. I wasn't fired, but here I remain. Mornings come early on the island. Since coming here, I've taken up surfing. There's a shallow beach with good waves, attracting many tourists for surfing. With few other industries, the island relies on tourism. My work involves the construction of small resort hotels, villas, and pensions, among other things. There's also a fair amount of repair work, keeping us reasonably busy. The branch office consists of me, 2 young craftsmen, and 1 local administrative worker. The atmosphere here is relaxed and friendly. The peace here is unbelievable, considering how at headquarters there were constant clashes between Steve's faction and those loyal to Mr. Anderson. After 8 years, I've grown accustomed to this peaceful life and have started dreading the idea of returning to headquarters. Before work, I head to the sea and catch a few waves before going to the office. And during lunch, I gaze at the calm sea. Lately, I've had more desk work, so I make a point of looking out at the distant view, which makes me seem like I'm always staring out the window. James, you're staring at the sea again. Clara, the administrative worker, often teases me. When I first arrived, I felt anxious and lonely. Not to mention guilty for abruptly canceling on Charlotte. But with 8 years gone by, even that feeling has faded. By now, she must be around 30 years old. She's probably built a wonderful life with a great husband. The thought still occasionally stings deep in my heart. Sometimes it feels like a minor wound, other times it's a deep, sinking feeling. Well, they say time heals all wounds. With time, these feelings should fade away. I just hadn't given it enough time yet. Every time that twinge of pain hits my heart, I remind myself of this. Looks like you've got a slow day. The one who called out to me as I was absently gazing out the window was Ethan. He's a reliable older brother figure, 2 years my senior, who moved to this remote island. He runs a small ranch and offers horseback riding to tourists. Sometimes, he hosts students who are truant from school or children with certain issues for extended stays at his ranch. They engage in horse care and receive horse therapy, healing their wounded hearts. If you don't have work, why not take the day off? He teased me, and I retorted, I do have work. Ethan, with his deeply tanned face, gave a broad grin and looked at me skeptically, saying, sure you do. Ethan, you shouldn't bother someone who's working. Suddenly, a voice as clear as a bell rang out. Behind the tall figure of Ethan, a woman with a face I hadn't seen on the island stood. Her fair skin indicated she had recently arrived. Her long black hair contrasted with her pale skin, making her look like a princess from a fairy tale, I thought. Clara nudged me, saying, "James, you're staring too much," as I was transfixed by her. "It's been a while since you've seen a beauty like her, right? She's my cousin and she's going to help out at the ranch starting today. She just arrived at the port." Ethan introduced her, and she greeted me. I greeted her back, caught up in the moment. "I'm Amanda. Nice to meet you." Her smile took me by surprise. There was an air of sophistication about her, or perhaps a sense of good upbringing. Though her personality and appearance seemed completely opposite, she somehow reminded me of Charlotte. I couldn't tell if the flutter in my heart was because of the memories of Charlotte or because of Amanda's smile. All I knew was that a restlessness began stirring within me. "Tonight, we're having a welcome party for her at our place. Want to come? You wouldn't have anything better to do back at your apartment, right?" Ethan said, turning on his heel without waiting for my reply. I shrugged and thought, well, can't be helped, scratching my head. That evening, I pondered what to bring to Amanda's welcome party and finally chose fruit wine. It's made on the island and is popular among women, even off the island. Not sure if she liked alcohol. I also bought some non-alcoholic juice just in case. Ethan's ranch is near the sea, not too far from my company apartment. "Good evening, may I come in?" I called out as usual and opened the door, to be greeted by Amanda in an apron. "Welcome, I'm sorry for calling you over like this on such short notice," she said, looking a bit apologetic, perhaps mindful of the forceful invitation earlier. "Not at all. I was looking forward to coming here tonight. Here's a little gift. Do you drink?" I said, quickly dismissing her concerns, and she smiled, relieved. The table was set with dishes I'd never seen when it was just Ethan and me drinking. Clearly, Amanda had prepared them. It's her welcome party, but she wouldn't just sit down and relax, Ethan said, frowning from behind the kitchen counter. "I can't let a busy person like you bother with such things. If you say you can't eat my cooking, then I might reconsider," she retorted with a firmness that belied her gentle appearance. Ethan seemed a bit taken aback. As I sat at the dining table, Ethan quickly placed a glass in front of me. "Didn't you bring something? Let's drink," he said, as if he had seen right through me, which was a bit annoying, but I handed over the fruit wine I had brought. In fact, this fruit wine was Ethan's favorite. "I knew you'd bring it," he said excitedly, uncorking the bottle, while Amanda chuckled softly. "She's probably in her late 20s, I guessed," unconsciously comparing her with Charlotte, who would be around the same age. "I hope it suits your taste." Amanda served the dishes onto small plates, lining them up in front of me. Each looked delicious, to my amazement. I tasted the food. I was at a loss for words due to its deliciousness. When something is truly delicious, the word delicious doesn't come out immediately. I almost stomped my feet on the spot in delight. Ethan watched my reaction with an amused look. "You're really starved for home-cooked meals, aren't you?" he said, pityingly. I felt embarrassed to be pitied. Amanda seemed to get embarrassed by my repeated praises of "this is delicious" and hid in the kitchen. "If you like Amanda's cooking so much, why don't you marry her? She hasn't gotten married no matter how much time passes," Ethan whispered, making sure Amanda couldn't hear him from the kitchen. It seemed she was still single. "I can't believe such a beautiful person is still single," I said honestly, and the usually hearty Ethan made a face as if he had bitten into a bitter bug. "There's a lot going on, a lot," he said, and then fell silent, taking a swig of his drink. Even someone as obtuse as me could tell there was a sensitive issue from Ethan's demeanor. "Hey, Amanda, why don't you take this guy with you for horseback riding practice tomorrow?" Ethan suddenly suggested to Amanda, who was in the kitchen. "Tomorrow is Saturday. I have the day off." It seems he wants her to treat me as a customer for the medium-distance horse riding they usually do for tourists. Originally, she's a horse rider, having won equestrian competitions, so she's quite skilled. I've been on this island for 8 years, but have never tried horse trekking. If you don't mind, I'd really appreciate it. I've never tried it before. I raised my voice so Amanda in the kitchen could hear. I'd actually ask you for the favor. I want to become helpful to Ethan as soon as possible, she said, coming out of the kitchen. I echoed her sentiment, saying, I'd appreciate it too. You two sound like you're at a matchmaking meeting, Ethan muttered, making us look up. Don't tease, I blurted out, probably blushing. In my haste, I didn't notice Amanda had fallen silent with a complex expression. The next morning, after surfing as usual, I got out of the sea just after 9 a.m. The horse trekking appointment is at 10 a.m. After a quick breakfast, I headed to the ranch. There, Amanda was receiving a lecture from Ethan on how to handle customers. There are many precautions, especially for first-time riders. She was taking detailed notes during the lecture, her profile showing intense concentration. I quietly watched them until they noticed me. Eventually, Ethan saw me and beckoned. If you're here, just say something, he said. Well, I didn't want to interrupt your serious instruction, I replied. While Ethan and I were talking, Amanda was steadily getting ready. Following Ethan's instructions, she briefed me on the precautions for horse trekking and then quickly got on a horse in the enclosure to teach me the basics of riding. Being on a horse for the first time, the height was more intimidating than I had imagined. I repeated standing up and sitting down in rhythm with the horse. You're doing well, you have a good feel for it, she complimented. Unexpectedly praised, I felt a bit happy. She told me it was okay to keep my buttocks on the saddle when we moved outside, which was a relief. After all, my muscles would have screamed if we kept up that rhythm for a long time. After about 20 minutes of instruction, we finally started the outdoor ride. Amanda led the way on her horse, slowly moving in front of me. The beach was just across a road, and enjoying horseback riding on the beach is a selling point of their horse trekking. The horse was well trained. It followed the lead horse quietly. I barely had to do anything. By the time I felt the sea breeze on my cheeks, my fear had vanished, replaced by an exhilarating feeling I had never experienced before. All I could hear was the soft crunch of the horse's hooves on the fine sand and the gentle sound of the waves. The beloved scent of the sea and the sea breeze. The sea surface, illuminated by the morning sun, sparkled and reflected beautifully. It feels great. This is the best, I found myself saying without thinking. I'm glad to hear you say that, turning her horse's face towards me and approaching. Her long hair fluttered in the wind. Her hands, lifting her hair, were slender and pale, almost glowing in the early summer sunlight. Did Ethan say anything to you about me yesterday? She suddenly asked, catching me off guard. I thought she hadn't heard Ethan's suggestion to entrust her to me. With her earnest eyes fixed on me, I couldn't lie. I honestly repeated what Ethan had mentioned the night before. Maybe he was just drunk. You know how he starts joking around when he's drunk, I said to try to smooth things over. At that moment, Amanda turned her back to me, controlling her horse. Her back seemed to tremble slightly, and I panicked, wondering if she was crying. You know Ethan doesn't get drunk, she said almost angrily, then steered her horse towards the water's edge. Without a chance to stop her, she rode into the sea with her horse. The horse seemed to enjoy walking in the water. They eventually going deep enough to swim. It feels so good. Why don't you join me? She called out, then whistled sharply. It seemed to be a signal. The horse I was on started to enter the water as well. Riding a horse into the sea was another first for me. It was scary at first, but as I got used to the waves through the horse's back, the vibration and the horse's warmth felt incredibly soothing. Minor worries seemed insignificant. With my eyes closed, feeling the wave sounds and the horse's breathing, I sensed Amanda approaching. I came here for Ethan. I love him and wanted to be by his side, so I followed him to this island. I guess you could call me an uninvited wife, she confessed unexpectedly. Her confession brought me back to reality. They were cousins, after all. He's just scared. Legally, he could marry me, but he's running away because he's worried about what people and relatives might think, even though he loves me deeply, she said. Her profile, as she bit her lip in frustration, looked like that of a warrior woman taking on a challenging battle. That's probably why he tried to ask you something strange last night, she surmised. For her to openly declare to love Ethan, it felt strange, like I'd fallen out of love even before I ever fell in love with her. My best friend still talks wistfully about being abandoned right before marrying the man she loved. I don't want to become a woman who clings to the past. On our way back to the ranch, she said that in a strong tone. Listening more closely, I was taken aback. She revealed that her friend was turned down at a matchmaking meeting by the man she loved. Charlotte's face flashed in my mind. It couldn't be such a coincidence. I took several deep breaths to calm my racing heart. But that effort was in vain as we approached the ranch. There were two figures there, Ethan and another person. I couldn't believe my eyes and squinted for a better look. There was no mistaking it. It was Charlotte, grown into a woman. Everyone's worried because you disappeared so suddenly. I had a hard time stopping your parents from going to the police. Charlotte scolded Amanda from atop her horse. But Amanda seemed unapologetic. Are you going on about what society will think again? My life is my own. What's wrong with living it the way I want? She dismounted the horse gracefully and handed the reins to Ethan, facing Charlotte directly. Contrasting with Amanda's long black hair and pale skin, Charlotte had a tan, sported very short bright hair, and her ears sparkled with several piercings. Yet, it was Charlotte, who appeared more lively, who had tears in her eyes, while Amanda, with her hands clasped in front of her chest, seemed irritated, tapping her fingers rhythmically. Everyone has their circumstances, right? There are things in life. We can't live as freely as we wish. Amanda scoffed through her nose at Charlotte, who was pleading in a voice mixed with tears. You really haven't changed at all. Hating to be called a president's daughter, you deliberately dress like that and act tomboyish, Amanda remarked. At Amanda's words, Charlotte's shoulders twitched sharply. Perhaps she felt humiliated for being hit right on the mark. Amanda didn't stop her onslaught, even as Charlotte looked down. But your essence hasn't changed, has it? Always worried about what society thinks, always being considerate of others, giving up on what's important to you, and living a life of regret. I'd rather not live like that, Amanda said. Charlotte, not wanting to hear any more, covered her ears with her hands and crouched down. Shut up, shut up, shut up. I know that, I don't want to hear it. I couldn't bear Charlotte's voice, which sounded almost like a scream. Jumping off the horse, I embraced Charlotte's hunched shoulders. Her slender shoulders were trembling slightly. Do you remember me, Charlotte? When I softly spoke to her, Charlotte's body stiffened. Holding her breath, she slowly looked up at me, her large eyes widening. In her eyes moistened with tears, my reflection was clearly visible. No, it can't be. In a dazed state, Charlotte murmured repeatedly. It's not a lie, it's me, James, I affirmed. Hearing my name, Charlotte's strength seemed to drain away. I supported her with both arms. So, you're the one Charlotte has been longing for, Amanda remarked, squatting beside us. Your legs must have given out from the shock, Charlotte. Amanda spoke to Charlotte in a teasing tone. Charlotte, her cheeks flushed red, retorted in a barely audible voice, Shut up, Charlotte. This is a chance given by God. What you do with it is up to you, Amanda said, patting Charlotte's shoulder lightly, as if comforting a child. I want you to be happy. After all, you're the only friend of a selfish person like me, Amanda said, standing up and smiling. Take good care of Charlotte. I nodded firmly, and with a reassured expression, she left us to tend to the horses. James, I need to tell you something. I wanted to chase after you just like Amanda did back then, Charlotte confessed. From the first time we met at the construction site, she had liked me, she said. She laughed bitterly as she talked about feeling hopeless about everything after being rejected at the arranged meeting. Regretting not being able to cling to me or chase after me because of societal expectations and her parents' views. She made me think of how inadequate my actions were. If I had just said, "Please wait for me," back then, she would have waited, I thought. Failing to fully believe in her and to take her away, I was truly a coward. I admired Amanda, you know, even though everyone opposed her and Ethan treated her coldly. She never gave up, Charlotte said. She laughed at herself, saying she never had the confidence to be loved like Amanda. I felt the same way. Taking a deep breath, I looked straight into Charlotte's eyes. She seemed to hold her breath. Please don't say it's too late now. If you're still single, and if you still love me, can we start over from that day? I asked. Hearing my words, big tears fell from Charlotte's eyes. I've always loved you. I still do, and I probably always will. Charlotte spoke with a clear tone, just like Amanda. I thought she mustered all her courage and took a step forward. I'll definitely make you happy. Stay with me forever, I promised. She nodded repeatedly in response to my words. I forcefully held back the tears that threatened to overflow. This wasn't the time to cry. I had decided to make her the happiest person in the world from now on. Amanda gave a sharp whistle. It sounded almost like she was saying, "Be happy." As I pondered for a bit, Mia looked intently at me. Noticing her gaze, I looked back at her and she smiled, saying, "You're kind, aren't you? All right. For such a kind Alex, let's give you a reward." Having my long-admired person say such a thing, I was thrilled about what kind of reward awaited me and eagerly awaited what would come next. Phew, we've arrived. My name is Alex, a 30-year-old working at a company in New York. Today, I'm using the long weekend to fly back to my hometown. Because major holidays and Christmas get so crowded, I usually take a few days off randomly during a long weekend to visit home about once every 6 months. After exiting the arrival lobby, I entered a diner I always visit. I frequent this diner every time I come home. That's because I worked here part-time when I was in high school. I wonder if it's her day off today. She hasn't quit, has she? After looking around the diner for a while, I felt a bit let down. I was looking for Mia. She was a senior when I was working part-time, and now she's the manager of this place. She's a beauty that turns every head in the place, with impeccable customer service to boot. She was the senior I admired, always teaching me kindly and carefully, even when I was a newbie. And she was the only woman who ever called my smile cute. Ever since I was a kid, I've been teased by my classmates for my squinty-eyed smile, making it a complex of mine. Although I intended to work only in the kitchen, this diner required working in the hall as well, and there was customer service training. Despite not wanting to force a smile for work, I nervously tried my best, and Mia called that smile cute. At that moment, I fell for her. But there was a problem. Mia was 10 years my senior. There was no way she would see me as a romantic prospect. At the time, Mia had a boyfriend, and I couldn't even confess my feelings. After quitting the part-time job to attend college in New York, I ended up working there, and during my biannual visits home, I dropped by this diner. chat with her if she was working. It's been over a decade since I met her, and by now, the hope of getting together with her has faded, but talking with Mia always warms my heart. Seeing Mia during my visits home was always a soothing moment. 2 days later, I ended my visit home and headed to the local airport a bit early. Peeking into the diner where I used to work, I spotted Mia before entering the shop today. Her radiant smile still dazzled me. I then stepped inside the diner. "Welcome, oh Alex, it's been a while, hasn't it? How's work going?" "Smoothly. Got a girlfriend?" I furrowed my brows in frustration. "Even you, Mia. Give me a break. I'm already exhausted from my parents nagging me about when I'm going to get married." Seeing my trolled face, Mia laughed. "Oh dear, you seem to have worried your parents. I don't get nagged about it anymore. Here, take a seat wherever you like." Prompted by her, I took a seat. Mia brought over the pasta I had ordered. "Be careful, the plate is hot," she said as she placed the pasta in front of me. "I'm always happy to see you stop by. You're so diligent." Unable to voice out that I came to see Mia, I just started eating my pasta. "What time is your flight back to New York?" "The 5 p.m. flight," I replied after swallowing a bite of pasta. Mia glanced at the clock inside the diner and said, "That's quite early. It's only 2 p.m. now, right?" "Oh, I'm about to take a break soon, so I can keep you company for an hour to kill some time," making me overjoyed. "Are you sure?" As I responded with a smile, Mia said, "Yes. Haha, your smile is still as cute as ever," then turned on her heel and headed back to the kitchen. Even now, being praised by Mia for my smile, which I've always been self-conscious about, made me feel warmly happy. I waited for Mia to take her break, and then we left the diner. We strolled around the airport for a bit. While heading to the counter with Mia to check in my luggage, an announcement was made about the next flight being cancelled due to a mechanical issue. "It's not your flight, right, Alex? That's a relief." "Yeah, mine is the one after the next." As we engaged in casual conversation, the counter became swamped with people. They were probably trying to rebook for the next flight. Deciding to check in our luggage later, we headed to the observation deck to watch the planes together. "Please wait, can't you do something? I really need to get on the next flight," a man was pleading desperately nearby. Watching the situation, after a brief exchange with the counter staff, the man hung his head and walked away from the line. Seeing the man, I exclaimed, "Ah, Ethan, is that you, Ethan?" When I called out to him, the man looked up and saw me. Then he broke into a wide smile. "Alex, wow, it's been so long, since high school graduation." "Yeah, it has. How've you been? What's going on with you?" As I asked, Ethan glanced at Mia standing next to me. "Oh, this is Mia, a senior from when I used to work part-time in high school. She's keeping me company to kill some time." I introduced Mia to Ethan, and then Mia said something surprising. "I know him. Ethan, right. It's been a while. How are you?" "Yeah, I'm good." "And Mia?" "I'm fine. How's your brother doing? Is he well?" Well." The conversation between Mia and Ethan was somewhat awkward. Confused by the situation, Mia turned to me. "You know, I used to date Ethan's brother. We broke up after I got sick." She smiled faintly, looking a bit downcast. "My brother was pretty down about it at the time," Ethan muttered reluctantly. Hearing that, Mia said, "I see. I must have left him with a heavy burden," with a smile, but Ethan couldn't look directly at her. "What's going on with you, Ethan? You were yelling about something earlier." Mia continued the conversation as if nothing had happened. "Oh, well, that." Ethan scratched his nose awkwardly. "You're hiding something, aren't you?" Mia pointed out sharply. "You always scratched your nose like that when you were making up excuses for your mischief so your brother wouldn't find out, didn't you?" Exposed like that, Ethan's face turned red. "It's okay, don't worry about me. I need to hurry." With that, Ethan tried to leave us behind. But I stopped him. "It's not like you don't care, right? It's rare for you to raise your voice like that." When I said this while looking directly at Ethan, he hung his head. "My wife, she's pregnant right now." At his words, Mia smiled gently. "Ethan is so kind." Faced with this response, Ethan looked embarrassed. I was clueless and just silently watched the two of them. "You know, I broke up with Ethan's older brother because my illness left me unable to have children. I guess Ethan is being considerate and avoiding a topic of pregnancy around me." I was shocked by this huge revelation, and Ethan nodded. Mia looked at Ethan with a serious, almost angry gaze. "You don't have to be considerate towards me. What happened? Is something wrong with your wife?" Confronted by Mia's intense stare, Ethan reluctantly shared, "It seems she slipped on the stairs despite being early in her pregnancy and had to be rushed to the hospital." I was surprised, and Mia exclaimed, "That's terrible. You need to go back immediately." "But the flight is fully booked, and I'm first on the wait list." Ethan nervously checked the counter. He was probably waiting for his name to be called. Mia glanced at the counter. "I have a friend at the check-in. Let me ask for you." As Mia was about to rush to the counter, I grabbed her wrist to stop her. "What are you doing? We need to hurry." Mia glared at me, frustrated. "I'm on the next flight, so I'll cancel my ticket. Then Ethan, being first on the wait list, will definitely get my seat, right?" At my words, both Mia and Ethan's eyes widened. "That's really kind of you, but it would be troublesome for you." Ethan hesitated, which I found amusing. "I've taken the day off work tomorrow. I was just planning to return to New York a day early with some leeway. So don't worry about it and use this," I said, offering the ticket, and Ethan grabbed my hand. "I'm deeply grateful." He firmly grasped my hand, his own shaking slightly. "And I will definitely repay this favor. I've been in your debt since high school," he said, uncharacteristically. Indeed, we had helped each other out back then, lending notebooks and copying homework. I smiled wryly at the memory. Though I was worried about the ticket exchange, Mia spoke to her friend at the check-in, and the process concluded smoothly. I rebooked my flight for the next day's noon. Relieved, Ethan said he needed to go to the bathroom and ran off in search of one. As I watched Ethan head towards the bathroom, I pondered what to do until tomorrow when Mia looked at me intently. Noticing her gaze, I looked back at Mia, who smiled and said, "You are really kind." I thought giving up my ticket to Ethan was worth it, but then Mia added, "All right, for such a kind Alex, I'll give you a reward." I was thrilled, wondering what the reward would be. "I'll treat you to dinner tonight at my favorite restaurant," she said, and I was over the moon, feeling as if my airplane ticket had turned into a date. "I still have 3 hours of work, but if you don't mind waiting, will you wait for me?" I nodded vigorously. "I can wait for hours. I love airports." Laughing at this, Mia said, "You've been like this since high school, huh? See you later then." I watched Mia return to work with a dumbfounded look. Since Ethan had some time until his 5 p.m. boarding, I was idly watching the planes take off and land on the deck with him, but Ethan would frequently step away to make phone calls. It seemed like he was talking to family members or someone from the hospital. When alone, I couldn't help but think about Mia. Though I didn't hear the details, the thought of not being able to have children lingered in my mind. Mia loves kids, and her smile always grows even wider when children come to the diner. She happily brings out children's dishes and chairs and chats with them. While I was thinking about this, Ethan sat down next to me after finishing his call. "Is your wife okay?" I asked Ethan, who looked downcast, and he replied, "They're examining her in detail right now, so I'm not sure." As someone who's not married, I had no more words to offer, so Ethan and I silently sipped coffee on the deck. After a moment of silence, Ethan looked at me tentatively. Then he asked, "Hey, "Do you like Mia?" which made me choke. What are you talking about?" Ignoring my coughing, Ethan continued. "Well, you seem to have a good vibe going. I noticed you were quite smitten." I started to panic, wondering if my feelings were that obvious. Seeing my reaction, Ethan laughed. "If you do like Mia, I thought I might have some good advice for you." I was annoyed by Ethan's teasing, but then he said, "If you don't like her, this information would only be a bother to you, so I won't say anything." I admitted, "Well, I'm not seriously in love, but I've always admired her." Ethan laughed again. "Mia is beautiful and kind. I get why you'd fall for her," he said, making my face heat up. "So, what is it? This good news you're talking about?" I urged him on, trying to hide my embarrassment, and Ethan chuckled. "You worked at that place in high school, right? Mia often talked about you, said you were conscientious and thoughtful, not like a typical high school student. She said your smile was cute, even though your eyes squint and you make a funny face when you laugh." His unnecessary remark dampened my spirits. "She talked about you so much that my brother got jealous. You might have a chance," he said, making my face turn red even in front of Ethan. After that, I thanked Ethan multiple times as I saw him off to the boarding gate and stood alone on the deck again, thinking about Mia. She had been talking about me when I wasn't around, and she had been praising me. I had always thought Mia complimented my smile just to boost my confidence, not because she really meant it. But to think she said such things about me even when I wasn't there. I was so moved I almost cried. To know that someone genuinely liked my smile, which I've always been self-conscious about, and that someone was Mia, whom I've admired for so long. As I was blushing at the thought of Mia, the real Mia appeared in front of me, saying, "Sorry to keep you waiting," and I panicked. We left the airport and headed to the employees' parking lot. We drove to Mia's favorite restaurant in her cute light blue compact car. It was a small Italian place, and the arrabbiata was superb, but I heard that women on a date with someone they're interested in avoid ordering anything with garlic. Perhaps I'm not considered a romantic interest. The conversation was tense at first but soon flowed freely, and we talked for about an hour at the restaurant. I wanted to spend more time together, but without being lovers, there was no reason to keep her late into the night. "Is it okay to drop you off at your parents' house?" she asked, and I shook my head. When I left home, my mother had already cleaned my room. I thought it'd be bad to extend my stay, so I booked a hotel. There were no single rooms left, so it's a twin, I explained, having booked the hotel while waiting for Mia. When I told her the name of the hotel, Mia grinned. "A room for two, huh?" As I was admiring her beautiful smile, she said, "It must be lonely in such a big room by yourself," and I chuckled. "I'll enjoy the spacious room all by myself." At my words, Mia's smile widened and she dropped a bombshell. "Should I stay with you then?" I turned bright red and panicked. "No, that's with Mia. Stay over." "No, that can't be right. A man and a woman in the same room. That's not appropriate," I blurted out, flustered, and Mia burst into laughter. "Ahaha, come on. Nothing's going to happen with a woman 10 years your senior, right?" Mia said, laughing. After a good laugh, she looked a bit melancholy. "Well, it wouldn't matter if something did happen. I'm not really a woman anymore." She laughed self-deprecatingly and said, "Don't say that, Mia. You are always a wonderful woman." Unable to come up with anything more clever to say, I looked down. Then Mia took a deep breath, started the engine, and said, "Do you still have time? Let's go for a little drive," steering the car in the opposite direction of the hotel. Holding the steering wheel and looking straight ahead, Mia began to talk. When she and her boyfriend, Ethan's older brother, were discussing marriage, Mia was struggling with irregular periods. The pain became so severe that she went to the hospital, where she learned she had to have a hysterectomy due to her condition. It was aggressive and had been caught late, leaving no option but a complete removal. I regretted it so much. If only I had gone to the hospital sooner. If only I had gotten my regular periods checked. After losing her uterus and the possibility of having children, Mia broke up with her boyfriend. He said it was okay not to have children, but Mia's guilt kept growing. This guilt sometimes turned into irritation, which she took out on him, leading to an increasingly strained relationship and eventually to their breakup. When we decided to break up, I was so sad, but a big part of me was relieved. Now he could have his own children with someone else. Mia said this with a slight smile, still looking ahead. I had to throw myself into work. Just then, the manager was quitting, and I applied for the position. By dedicating herself to her job, she avoided relationships with men. Mia shared all this with me. Thanks to that, every time I came home, I could see Mia. Mia smiled at my words. And then we arrived at our destination. It was a hill overlooking the town, offering a beautiful view of the night lights. There was a space to park the car, with a clear view of the town below. "It's beautiful," I murmured, and Mia looked pleased. "It can't compare to New York's night view, but I love it here. When I'm feeling down, I come here to watch the night sky." Mia's face, illuminated by the night lights and the moon, looked incredibly mystical and beautiful. As I looked at her, my mouth moved on its own. "I like you," I confessed to Mia in just one sentence. Mia looked surprised for a moment but then laughed. "What brought this on all of a sudden? Oh, do you mean you like the night view? Did I misunderstand?" Even in the moonlight, I could see her blushing as she laughed. I remembered my conversation with Ethan. There might be a chance. If I don't say it now, I might never get another chance. I gathered my courage. "No, I mean, I've liked you, Mia, for a long, long time, and I still do." I made sure Mia had no way to avoid my gaze, telling her seriously. Mia realized my confession was sincere, stopped laughing, and looked at me sternly. "Do you pity me? I don't need your sympathy." Her voice contained a slight anger, and I shrank back but said, "It's not pity or anything like that. I've liked you since high school. I know I'm 10 years younger and probably not considered a romantic prospect, but could you start considering me as one now?" Mia then looked at me with a pitying expression. "Alex, you're still 30, right?" "No, it's not right. Don't waste your time on an old lady like me. Marry a cute girl, have children, and show me their faces. I can't have my own kids, but I still love them, so I want to see your kids." Mia said this and turned away, as if fleeing from my earnest gaze. I moved in front of Mia and placed my hands on her shoulders. "No, I want you, Mia. It has to be you. I haven't been able to forget you for over 10 years. Otherwise, I wouldn't visit your shop every time I come home. That would be creepy, right? I'm sorry if it's creepy, but you've always been my aspiration and a person I love. Every 6 months when I see you, my feelings reignite. I've tried to forget. I've had moments where I felt good with someone else, but it never works. You've always. Feeling a sting in the back of my nose, I paused for a moment. Then, I turned to Mia and gave her the biggest smile I could muster. I've always been really self-conscious about this smile of mine. I hardly ever smile now, but you said my smile was cute. I can smile in front of you. I can only smile in front of you, Mia. When you said my smile was cute, you meant it, right?" Tears welled up in Mia's eyes. She nodded silently. "I can forget you, the one who erased my complex. You're the only one who calls me cute. As long as I have you, that's all I need. I'm not hung up on having children. I just want to spend the rest of my life with you, Mia. Am I not enough?" Mia looked down. "It won't work, because when you're 40, I'll be 50, you know. So what? I'll be an unremarkable 40-year-old, and Mia will surely be a graceful 50-year-old. Mia shook her head slowly. Men in their 30s and 40s, They're attractive. Young girls won't leave you alone. Her voice was trembling. I don't want young girls. I want to be needed by Mia. I spoke quietly, and Mia still resisted. When you're 50, I'll be 60, you know. Her way of resisting was cute. I'll be a plain old man. Maybe my hair will start thinning soon, or maybe even sooner. And Mia, you'll be a beautiful 60-year-old. Let's celebrate that. At the mention of my thinning hair, I sensed Mia trying to suppress a laugh. When you're 60, I cut off Mia's words. Are we still going on about this, Mia? Even at 70 or 80, with white hair, you'll be gentle and beautiful. I might be a hunched-over old man with poor posture. No matter how many years pass, I can never catch up to you or become older than you. I'll always be 10 years younger, but I'll strive to be a man Mia can rely on. So, please, walk for life with me. After I said this, Mia looked up, her eyes slightly moist. Are you really okay with not having children? With not having your own kids? That's unfair to you and your parents. She pleaded with tears streaming down her face. My parents would be over the moon if I brought home a beauty like Mia. They'd say, well done. At that, Mia seemed to give in, looking upwards. I guess there's no helping it. Well, I'll go out with you until the real love of your life appears, okay? Her words seemed like a shy cover-up, so I hugged Mia tightly. Looking down at the night view below, I felt as if it were blessing us. Just then, my phone rang. It was Ethan, calling with happy tears to report that both mother and child were safe. Mia and I both sat down, relieved. I made it work with Mia, too. When I reported this to Ethan, he let out a loud cheer. Then, I could hear someone scolding him in the background. Maybe it was his wife. I promised to call back later to congratulate them properly, and hung up. I was overflowing with happiness. Soon after, I quit my job in New York and transferred to a factory that was being newly established in my hometown. Mia, who had been sure that our long-distance relationship would continue, was surprised by my swift action. I wanted to show my commitment. Then I handed Mia the brochure. It was from an organization supporting adoption. Mia, who had never considered adoption, was taken aback. I really like seeing you with children, so I thought this could be an option for us. After saying this, Mia sniffled a little. And you see, like it says in this brochure, there's an age limit to becoming parents. 42 years old. Mia, hurry up and marry me. We'll run out of time. As I continued, Mia protested. What? Wait a minute. Oh, I see what you're doing, rushing me so I don't have time to think. Huh? You're good at this. Despite her grumbling, her eyes were smiling. I can still vividly recall that scene. Mia kept asking, are you sure I'm the one you want? And each time, I assured her that she was. A year later, Mia finally said, I can't do it anymore. I can't imagine a life without you, and decided to marry me. Now, our adopted daughter is turning 2. Mia strokes our daughter's head as she naps and looks at her with such tenderness. I'm so happy right now, Mia says, her face radiating with loving kindness. Thank you for not giving up on me, Alex, she says with a smile. As I chuckle bashfully, Mia starts to share something. I was actually considering switching jobs, not just at the diner, but then I realized I wouldn't see you whenever you came back home, so I stayed there. Whispering so as not to wake our daughter, Mia shares this, and I blush deeply. Why didn't you tell me something so nice sooner? I protest. Mia responds, I thought you wouldn't give up on me if I said that. I wouldn't have given up anyway, I say with a laugh, and Mia laughs too. I truly love Mia, who is always charming and beautiful and can say such delightful things out of the blue. I know she recently bought a beauty device secretly, thinking I wouldn't find out. I don't care about age, I'll always love Mia. I want us to create many laugh lines together, living modestly with our adorable daughter. Looking at our daughter's peaceful sleeping face, Mia and I shared a laugh. My name is Alex. I just turned 17 and became a sophomore in high school this spring. Actually, until last year, I attended a high school known for its strong football program. I started playing football in elementary school and got a sports scholarship to that high school when I was in junior high. Honestly, when I first started playing football, my athletic ability was below average. But I wanted to improve, so I spent all my free time practicing football. All that effort paid off when I received a recommendation from the prestigious school, and I was truly happy, thinking I could continue playing the sport I loved. However, once I got to high school, I couldn't fit in with the football team at all. Despite there being many team members, I couldn't make friends with anyone, and before I knew it, I became the target of their teasing. I don't have any special skills besides football, and I'm not good at talking, so I don't have many friends. It seemed like everyone around me found me undesirable, including my senior, Michael, and everyone else, who looked down on me. Even the coach seemed to notice that I stood out awkwardly within the team. When I went to submit my resignation from the team, the coach seemed really relieved. I hadn't made any remarkable contributions since joining, and there were many students better than me. It seemed the coach was internally troubled about how to deal with me. Alex, you've done well so far. Life is much longer from here on out, and it's better to find something else you're passionate about. Hearing the coach's words, I was deeply shocked. It made me painfully aware that no one at this school needed me anymore. Thus, I dropped out of high school and transferred to a private high school in the neighboring state. The rumor that I had gone to a prestigious school had already spread in my hometown, and the middle school teachers wouldn't look kindly upon me dropping out despite getting in through a sports scholarship. Considering that, I wanted to go as far away as possible. My grandmother lived alone in the neighboring state, so I moved in with her and started anew at the private high school. Honestly, I have no expectations for my new life. I don't plan to play football ever again, and I don't want to be hurt like that again. So, I decided to keep a low profile and just wait for the days to pass by quickly. Perhaps sensing my stance, my new classmates didn't try to involve themselves with me more than necessary. There seemed to be a few other students who had transferred for similar reasons, so I wasn't such a rare case in this school. I just hoped my days would continue to pass by peacefully. But then, an unexpected turn of events occurred in May. The entire school had a class match, and the sport, of all things, was football. Just when I thought I'd never play football again, I was bewildered but couldn't refuse to participate. Reluctantly stepping onto the field, I found myself surprisingly immersed in the game once it started. Though I was out of practice for about 3 months, my passes were accurate, and I even scored goals. I was so focused on the game that I didn't notice my surroundings, but when I did, I realized that everyone, including my class, was paying close attention to me. We won the match, leaving the opposing team, who were the favorites to win, in shock. Alex, you're amazing. I never thought we could beat the team that was expected to win. My classmate Jordan approached me excitedly. Oh no. I didn't expect to win against a team that was favored to win. I had planned to keep a low profile. Trying to brush it off, I said, no, it was just luck. But then I was suddenly approached from behind. No, I can tell. Your football skills are exceptional. You must have practiced a lot, haven't you? Turning around, I was stunned to see a breathtakingly beautiful girl. With her long hair flowing and slender legs peeking out from her tracksuit, she stood out on the field. Oh no. Being approached by such a beauty will only draw more attention to me. Unaware of my feelings, the beautiful girl continued excitedly. I'm Johnson, the football team assistant. Alex, please, we need you to join our football team to help us rise to the top. No, thanks. I've decided not to play football anymore. I turned my back on Johnson and dashed away. No way. I transferred schools to get away from football, and now to be scouted for the football team. According to Jordan, whom I spoke with the next day, she's quite popular around the school. Johnson is incredibly beautiful, right? Plus, she's been demonstrating her assistant skills since middle school. Her middle school even made it to a major tournament thanks to her assistant, and our football team's advisor has high hopes for her. Wow. Since the class match incident, Jordan and I found ourselves spending time together before we knew it. Despite my intention not to make any new friends, I never expected this outcome. Jordan is very approachable and kind, which allowed me to feel a sense of comfort with a friend after a long time. However, that doesn't mean I'm considering rejoining the football team. But Johnson didn't give up and came to me almost every day, persistently inviting me to join the football team. "Alex, let's play football. It's a waste for someone as talented as you not to play." During breaks, Johnson would appear in front of me, lively in her blazer. As soon as she showed up, the whole class turned their attention to us. Jordan, among others, seemed to find this interaction amusing, but I was always nervous about that. As I've explained many times, I'm not interested in playing football. The class match was just a fluke. It wasn't a fluke. Wow. She suddenly got close, making my heart beat faster. Her sweet, feminine scent drifted towards me, drawing me in. For me, who had been focused solely on football with no interaction with girls, Johnson's forward approach was overwhelmingly stimulating. Yet, oblivious to my feelings, she continued to argue her point with her big eyes fixed on me. "Besides, Alex, with some adjustments to your form, your skills could improve significantly. Our school's coach has a sports trainer qualification and is knowledgeable about such things." I was somewhat interested in this. The high school I had attended was more about brute force, with little regard for efficient training. A tailored approach to training and form could indeed lead to more effective improvement. Still, I couldn't bring myself to agree. "Sorry, but I'm not interested." My voice came out colder than I intended. "What?" Johnson seemed to sense my coldness, showing a fleeting expression of sadness. For some reason, that made my heart ache. What was that about? What was that just now? But at that moment, the bell signaling the end of break rang, and Johnson, too, finally headed back to her own classroom. Noticing something was off, Jordan approached me with concern. "Alex, are you okay? You seem a bit off." "It's nothing." I felt guilty for hurting her feelings. Yet, in an attempt to justify myself, I came up with various excuses in my head. Johnson must be scouting me for her own benefit. Her reputation would rise if her managed team made it to a big tournament. Any guy would probably listen to such a beautiful girl's request. There must be other students with great athletic abilities in this school, not just me. I don't need to join the football team just for her sake. I realized these were terrible excuses filled with victim mentality, but perhaps I was still haunted by my past failures. I strongly wish never to be hurt by my beloved football again. A few days later, I woke up unusually early and arrived at school about 40 minutes earlier than usual. Wondering what to do so early, I accidentally spotted Johnson on the field. Though all club activities were supposed to be off this morning, there she was, dragging the field marker. And she was doing it all by herself. Seeing her like that instantly made my heart tighten. She truly cherishes the football team as their assistant. Without rest, diligently leveling the ground, I found myself compelled to speak to her for some reason. "Good morning, Johnson. It must be tough to be working on the field so early in the morning." When she noticed my voice, she stopped her work and greeted me. "Good morning, Alex. Yes, actually, there was a practice match with another school last night, and the ground ended up rougher than usual. So, I thought I'd clean it up," she said with a smile. Her sincerity was so palpable that in that moment, I truly thought she was beautiful. Not just her appearance, but I deeply realized how beautiful her heart is. The team members are really lucky to have someone like you as their assistant. Alex, do you have a moment after this? There's something I want to talk about. Please wait in front of the club room while I change into my uniform. Confused by her request, I responded, okay, and waited for her to finish changing. About 10 minutes later, the door to the club room opened and Johnson invited me in. Being alone in a closed room early in the morning with a beautiful girl like her was unbelievable. What could she possibly want to talk about? Due to extreme nervousness, my heart was pounding as if it were racing. Then, suddenly, she grabbed my hand. Alex, please touch this, she said. Caught off guard, I tried to look away, but she insisted, please, look closely, pressing my palm against her thigh. Huh, what is this? Surprised by the unexpected sensation, my eyes widened. There was a large, painful-looking scar on her thigh. Such a scar wouldn't have remained unless it was from a serious injury. Actually, I got this scar during a football match in my first year of junior high, she revealed. What? As I looked at her face in surprise, I saw a sorrowful expression. It was as if the pain inflicted by that scar was still present, even after 3 years. Alex, I've kept this quiet, but my birth family name is Taylor. Influenced by you, I played football until I got injured in elementary school, she confessed. Wait, Johnson, was that Emily? As a kid, I often played football with friends at the local park. Among them was a girl named Emily Taylor, who tried to play football with the boys. However, the boys disliked her presence. They thought it was ridiculous for a girl to play football and tried to drive Emily out of the park. But from the moment I saw her, I felt she had something special. Despite being ridiculed by the boys, she never gave up and chased the ball with unwavering passion. Inspired by her zeal, I eventually started practicing with her, and she became one of the best players in the park. After that, no boy dared to tell her to leave the park. In my memory, Emily was a tomboy with a short haircut and tan skin. I never imagined that the beautiful long-haired Emily in front of me was the same person. I was speechless from the shock. She continued to explain. After my parents divorced, I had to move away and couldn't say goodbye properly to you, Alex. But not a single day has passed when I haven't thought about you. Meeting you made me dedicate myself to football as a player until the day I got injured. Emily. I found myself calling her Emily just like in those days. So that was the reason she suddenly stopped coming to the park. When I got injured, I was devastated, thinking I could never play football again. As Emily spoke, her shoulders trembled, conveying her deep anguish. But I still love football. Becoming an assistant has given me a new purpose in life. Being involved with football in this way, and meeting you again, Alex, has made me incredibly happy, she said, her eyes brimming with tears, looking straight at me. How shallow I had been. Unlike Emily, even now, I could fully commit to football whenever I chose to. I was using my painful memory as an excuse to run away from football. Yet Emily, despite being physically and emotionally wounded, rebounded with a strong spirit and continued to love football. Losing to a younger girl like this, I was an incredible coward. But I believe I can still make a fresh start. Emily, thank you. I've come to realize my own feelings. I want to play football too. Alex, I'm so happy. It's been truly worthwhile being the assistant up until this day. Saying this, Emily finally showed me a smile, even as tears fell. The moment I saw her smile, my heart felt lighter. I want to protect this smile. I want to face football with all my heart again. That was the moment I truly realized this. Afterward, I officially joined a football team and started practicing with the other members. Thanks to Emily, the team's mood maker. The atmosphere within the club was excellent, and I quickly became part of the team. The coach was certainly strict, but he cared deeply for every team member and used his trainer qualifications to provide appropriate guidance. With the coach's instruction and Emily's support, the team members steadily improved and managed to win the city tournament. Next, we aim to compete in the state tournament. Let's eat. As I was energetically eating breakfast before going to school, my grandmother opened her mouth with a smile. "It's really good to see Alex so energetic. You truly come alive when you're playing football." My grandmother had been worried about me, so it was great to finally put her mind at ease. The reason I can enjoy my days like this is all thanks to Emily. "Thank you, Grandma. I'm really blessed." After saying, "That was very good breakfast," I dashed off to school. I wanted to play football, even if just for a moment. With that thought, I felt as light as if I had wings on my feet, allowing me to run effortlessly. Emily was already on the field, leveling the ground as usual. "Good morning, Alex." "Good morning. All right, I'm going to help with the leveling too." Saying that, I joined Emily and worked on the field together. Our conversation was mainly about the upcoming tournament. Spending time with her like this made me deeply realize how special she was to me. I wanted to be closer with her not just as an assistant and a team member, but in a more significant way. "Emily, what is it?" The moment she looked at me with her big, beautiful eyes, I felt my heart race and lost my words. "It's nothing." "Come on. It's not fair to stop halfway. I'll tell you if we win the next tournament." I can't express my feelings as directly as Emily does. "So please wait a bit longer," I said in my mind. "After we've grown a bit more through the tournament, I'll properly tell her how much I like her."